All right, let's jump right in. We're going to tackle a huge question today. In a world that's changing faster than ever, how can our universities possibly keep up, especially those without massive budgets? Well, we're digging into a fantastic paper that lays out a practical, low-cost blueprint for getting graduates ready for what we call the fourth industrial revolution. Let's see how it works.
This phrase right here, it's everything. Learn, unlearn, relearn. This isn't just a cute line for a motivational poster anymore. It's become a genuine mantra for survival in the workforce. You know, one university president even said, "No amount of formal education is ever going to be enough." And what that really means is that lifelong learning, it's not just a nice option anymore. It's an absolute must.
Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll get a handle on what this Industry 4.0 challenge really is. Then, we'll look at the two big ideas that offer a path forward: analytics and learning science. After that, we'll get into the really exciting part, a practical, bottom-up solution. And we'll wrap it all up by seeing how it all comes back to the most important thing of all, learning. So, let's dive into that core problem. How can education stay relevant when the jobs of tomorrow might not even exist today? How do you prepare students for a world that's being completely remade by technology?
You see, this fourth industrial revolution isn't just about fancy robots. It's about a massive demand for totally new skills. We're talking about things like critical thinking, creativity, and the ability to manage your own learning. This puts a ton of pressure on schools. The paper uses Vietnam as a great example. Here's a country that's eager to grab all the new opportunities, but might be dealing with infrastructure challenges. So they're looking to partners like Singapore, who are way ahead in this game, to help build up their workforce. This whole situation just screams for a clever, affordable solution.
So, if that's the problem, what's the answer? Well, the paper argues that the solution isn't bringing two very different worlds together, learning analytics and learning science, and you can absolutely think of them as two sides of the very same coin.
Let's break this down real simple. Learning analytics, or LA, is all about the data. It's the what. It tracks what videos you watched, what you clicked on, how you did on a quiz. But learning science, or LS, that's the why and the how. It digs into cognitive science to understand how our brains actually absorb information and learn effectively. And this really gets to the heart of the issue. You've got the data wizards over here, who can crunch numbers all day, but might not really get the psychology of learning. And then you have the learning experts who totally understand the human brain, but aren't set up to run complex data analyses. The real magic happens when you can build a bridge between those two camps.
So how do we actually do that? This is where things get really cool. This is about a practical, bottom-up solution that pretty much any university could start using without needing a massive budget.
First up, there's a methodology called RAPAL. Now, don't get hung up on the name. The important thing is that this is a mindset, not a piece of software. It's all about empowering students to think about how they learn, to figure out their own styles, and to take control. It's about putting the student in the driver's seat of their own education.
The second piece of this puzzle is called PERLA. So if RAPAL is the how-to guide for the student, you can think of PERLA as the underlying system that connects their personal goals with all that data we talked about. It's the engine that ties it all together. So how does this PRLA cycle actually work? It's a really powerful 7-stage loop. First, you set a goal. Easy enough. Then you plan and specify exactly what you're going to do. Next, you go out and do it. You perform the activity. Now, here's where the reflection kicks in. You perceive the results. You just look at what happened. Then you try to figure out what it all means. You interpret it. And finally, you compare that outcome to your original goal. And that, of course, helps you set your next goal. It's this continuous, personal, data-driven cycle of improvement.
Okay, let's make this feel real. Imagine your goal is just active participation in an online course. Your plan is to watch 3 videos a week. Now watch how every step here creates actual data. The perform stage gives you a hard number. How many videos did you actually watch? Perceive gives you a quiz grade. Interpret adds context. How did your grade compare to the class average? All of a sudden, a fuzzy goal like be more active gets turned into concrete data points that you can actually track and improve on.
So the billion-dollar question, what's the tool that makes this all possible on a budget? Moodle. It's a free, open-source learning platform that more than 80 million people are already using. It's so powerful that even the massive UK Open University chose it over expensive, paid alternatives. And because it's open source, it's flexible, letting schools build things out piece by piece, which is perfect when you're trying to overcome infrastructure hurdles. But here's a super important point. Just having the system isn't enough. There was this fascinating study that found that things like how often you log in or how much time you spend on the site, they have no significant impact on performance. Zero. So what does matter?
active engagement, interacting with other students, posting in forums, actually completing the exercises. It just goes to show you, the design of the learning activities is what truly matters, not just the tech.
So all of this, the frameworks, the data, the technology, it's all pointing in one direction. It all comes together around one central idea. The ultimate goal here is to empower the student.
So what are the big takeaways here? First, technology like Moodle is just a tool. It's not the solution by itself. Second, as we just saw, how you design the learning activities is absolutely critical for success. Third, data on its own is kind of dumb. You still need smart people to interpret it and make it useful. And finally, the whole point of all of this is to create self-regulated, adaptable, lifelong learners who are ready for whatever the future throws at them.
And that leads us to the most important reminder of all. And it's so simple. Learning analytics are about learning. Amidst all the hype about big data and AI, it's so easy to lose sight of that. So the real question this blueprint leaves us with isn't just about what universities can do. It's about what each of us can do. How can we use this cycle of setting goals and reflecting on them in our own lives to truly become lifelong learners?